A quick thing before we get started. I know I bring up on a regular basis to consider subscribing to the Washington Post. As someone who already listens to us, I think there are a lot of things you'd appreciate about having a subscription. You can learn more about every story you hear on this podcast, and so much more. And you can listen to almost every article that's on our website or app. And if you've been thinking about it, maybe this will make the difference. Right now, you can become a subscriber for just $2 every 4 weeks for your first year. $2 every 4 weeks. That's an incredible price. And after that, it's just $12 every 4 weeks. You can cancel anytime. This offer is only available for a limited time, so go to our show notes and look for our subscription link right now. Or go to washingtonpost.com/subscribe. That's washingtonpost.com/subscribe. I just said this yesterday, but it's true again today. There's been yet another twist in President Trump's trade war. That's where we're starting the 7 from the Washington Post. I'm Hannah Jewell. It's Friday, May 30th. Let's get you caught up with today's 7 stories. On Wednesday, a federal trade court ruled that most of President Donald Trump's tariffs were illegal and must be halted. That threw a very big wrench into ongoing trade negotiations between the U.S. and more than a dozen countries. Those nations' delegates were hoping to lower Trump's tariffs on their exports. So if those tariffs are actually illegal, the delegates may feel a lot less inclined to make concessions. Meanwhile, a second federal court also ruled yesterday that many of Trump's tariffs are indeed unlawful. If that wasn't confusing enough, a separate appeals court granted the administration's request yesterday to temporarily pause the first court's order. If you're not following, I don't blame you. That means the president's tariffs are back on for now. It's just a temporary pause on the pause. Anyway, these back-and-forth tariff policies have changed constantly this year. That has created uncertainty for businesses that import and export products. And for consumers like us, who rely on things that are made overseas. A judge blocked the Trump administration's effort to ban foreign students at Harvard. That's number 2. Yesterday was commencement day at Harvard, and celebrations were helped along when a federal judge offered the school a win in one of the most high-stakes battles in its ongoing fight with the president. The judge blocked the Trump administration's attempt to bar international students from enrolling at the school. Harvard said it will continue enrolling international students and scholars while the case moves forward. But some damage has already been done. A school official said that some foreign students are already seeking to transfer or defer enrollment, and others are reporting visa denials and revocations. Number 3. The Trump administration sounded optimistic about a ceasefire in Gaza. Since Israel broke a 2-month ceasefire with Hamas in mid-March, it's launched some of its most intense attacks on Gaza. A new halt to the fighting has been elusive. But the White House said yesterday that Israel had backed a new U.S. plan for a 60-day pause in the fighting. Here's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt updating journalists.
I can confirm that Special Envoy Witkoff and the president submitted a ceasefire proposal to Hamas that Israel backed and supported. Israel signed off on this proposal before it was sent to Hamas. I can also confirm that those discussions are continuing, and we hope that a ceasefire in Gaza will take place so we can return all of the hostages home, and that's been a priority from this administration from the beginning.
But Hamas has said it wants a permanent end to the war, and that this plan doesn't meet its demands. Meanwhile, several European nations are reviewing their trade ties with Israel in protest of its actions in Gaza. Even Germany, which is a staunch ally of Israel, issued a rare rebuke after a deadly Israeli strike on a Gaza school this week. The Supreme Court made a ruling with big implications for the environment. That's number 4. Yesterday, justices overturned a block on a rail line in Utah that would carry billions of gallons of oil. In doing so, it narrowed the scope of government-required environmental reviews for major infrastructure projects, and that could have a much wider impact. The case became a proxy battle over how far federal agencies may go in assessing environmental impacts of big projects before deciding whether to approve them. Business interests cheered the ruling as a necessary check on a process that they say had become too costly and slow. But environmentalists said it would allow agencies to ignore major environmental impacts. Parents in Oklahoma are battling over a new curriculum. That's our fifth story. New social studies standards in Oklahoma include guidelines to teach students that there were discrepancies in the 2020 presidential election. High schoolers would be asked to analyze debunked theories that suggest former President Joe Biden did not win that election. It bears repeating, there is no evidence that widespread corruption tainted the 2020 results. Now, a legal fight is unfolding over allegations that the state superintendent added the provision to the standards without notifying some education board members before they voted to pass them. A judge heard arguments in the case this week and could block the curriculum. Meanwhile, some Oklahoma parents are circulating opt-out forms to try and remove their children from lessons rooted in a conspiracy theory. Number 6. Wildfires in Canada have forced 17,000 people to evacuate. Uncontained wildfires are burning in the Canadian provinces of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. They've prompted authorities to declare a state of emergency and order tens of thousands of people to leave their homes. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe held a news conference yesterday.
It's a very serious situation that we're faced with in Saskatchewan. We do need some rainfall. We need that sooner rather than later. And in light of that not being in the forecast, we most certainly are putting in place every measure possible to prepare our province, prepare our communities.
The lack of rainfall in the forecast is also bad news for parts of the U.S. The wind is forecast to blow dense smoke into the U.S. today and tomorrow, especially hitting the Midwest. The smoke could reach the East Coast, and wildfire smoke is harmful to health. So check out the smoke forecast in our newsletter today. That's in our show notes. And at number 7.
Congratulations, Faizan Zaki. You are the 2025 Scripps National Spelling Bee champion. Somebody peel him off the floor.
There's a new Scripps National Spelling Bee champion. It was the 4th appearance for 13-year-old Faizan Zaki in the nation's biggest spelling competition. Last year, he was the runner-up, losing in a thrilling rapid-fire spell-off tiebreaker. But this year was all his. He nailed his winning word without hesitation.
Éclaircissement. E-C-L-A-I-R-C-I-S-S-E-M-E-N-T. Éclaircissement.
That is correct.
I obviously had to look up éclaircissement this morning. According to Merriam-Webster, it means a clearing up of something obscure. So that's cleared that up. When the confetti gun exploded and his win was confirmed, Faizan collapsed onto the stage. He had defeated more than 240 spellers to clinch the crown in the contest's centennial year. If you want to see if you have what it takes to become a spelling champion, we have not one, but 2 spelling challenges linked in our newsletter today. You can find both of them in our show notes. Good luck. That's the show for this week. I hope our podcast has brought some éclaircissement to your questions about the news. The associate producer of The Seven is Taylor White. The staff writers are me and Jamie Ross. John Taylor is our editor. Additional editing by Christina Quinn. Special thanks to Nicola Johnson for the correct pronunciation of a small Suffolk village. Copy editing is by Melissa No and Thomas Haliba. Mixing and sound design is by Jim Briggs and Justin Garish. Our theme music is by Edith Mudge. Renita Jablonski is our director of audio. I'm Hannah Jewell. Thanks for listening and have a great weekend. I'll meet you back here on Monday.